I know, see,
I'm gonna leave it alone?
sounds good. That's the way you was playing, man.
Alone?
Yeah, to me.
Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
First met Earl Palmer in New Orleans at WWOZ Studios during Jazz Fest. He was there talking about his new biography, Backbeat. I was there playing piano on the air to plug one of my gigs. Also in the studio was Earl King, another piece of New Orleans royalty, who I'd been fortunate enough to play with and hang with. I got one of my favorite pictures that day with the two Earls, one on each side. I didn't quite know who Earl was just yet, but I was soon to find out that he was true musical royalty to the max. Little did I know that in a few years I would get to play with the cat who laid the rhythmic foundations for what we now know as rock and roll. So let me give you a little background on the man whose backbeat probably made you dance at some time in your life, whether you know it or not. He grew up in the Tremé, the black neighborhood right across Claiborne next to the French Quarter, where so much music originated. He was a professional tap dancer by the age of 5. My favorite story Earl tells is when Louis Prima hired him to come up to the stage and tug on his pant leg. When Louis says, "What do you want, kid?" Earl replies, "Mama wants you to come home now." Pretty cool considering the race relations at the time. He went on to play the minstrel shows with his mother and aunt and tour the black vaudeville circuit. Eventually Earl began drumming with Dave Bartholomew's rhythm and blues band and became the driving rhythmic force behind the J&M studio band that propelled so many stars to fame. He's the cat who drummed on Little Richard's big hits, Lucille, Tutti Frutti, Long Tall Sally, Good Golly Miss Molly, and on so many of Fats Domino's million sellers as well, like I'm Walking, The Fat Man, I'm in Love Again, I Hear You Knocking. He laid down the beat for so many other New Orleans artists as well, including Professor Longhair, Smiley Lewis, Lloyd Price, Roy Brown, and Shirley and Lee. It was Earl Palmer whose drumming transformed rhythm and blues into the full-tilt thrust of rock and roll. As Bruce Springsteen's drummer Max Weinberg says, when the pulse of rock and roll grabs you and won't let go, it becomes the big beat. That's how it was when Earl Palmer laid into Little Richard's Lucille, sounding as if he were using baseball bats and kicking a 30-foot bass drum. What I got to understand from playing with him is that Earl combines all those street elements he grew up hearing in the Tremé, like the second-line rhythms, funk, and jazz, to really propel a song. He's a drummer of tremendous power and sensibility. In 1957, Earl, fed up with the Jim Crow politics and racism of the South, packed up and moved to Los Angeles and practically lived in the studio, where he became America's most recorded drummer and co-creator of hundreds of hits. The list is endless and awesome. Sam Cooke's You Send Me, Shake, Twistin the Night Away, Richie Valen's LaBamba, Ike and Tina Turner's River Deep, Mountain High, the Righteous Brothers' You've Lost That Lovin Feelin, Eddie Cochran's Summertime Blues, and thousands of tunes by the Supremes, the Beach Boys, Marvin Gaye, Bobby Darin, Frank Sinatra, Willie Nelson, Sarah Vaughan, the Mamas and the Papas. He was a session man for Elvis Costello, Neil Young, Bonnie Raitt, B.B. King, Ray Charles, and Count Basie. He played television themes like The Odd Couple, 77 Sunset Strip, Ironside, MASH, and even the Brady Bunch. Working with the legendary Quincy Jones and other greats, he played on countless motion picture soundtracks. In Cold Blood, Bullet, In the Heat of the Night, The Rose, and It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. As I said, the list is endless, and I recommend you read his book Backbeat, The Earl Palmer Story, if even just to glance at his discography and film credits. Just to meet Earl and get to hang with him is a rare treat. To hear his stories, which are as endless as his discography, and eat gumbo or shop with him for those all-important oysters and shrimp to bring back home is a blast. To play music with him is heaven, but to be his friend is priceless.